the adulthood, right?
Yes.
And we know that any kind of organism, whether we humans or most of the animals, they will be capable of giving birth to new organisms once they are in the age of, once they have acquired a certain age in their life, right? Now, yeah, Aisha is here. So it was a time period in their life when the body will be leading towards the sexual maturity. And the organisms that are in this age group, they are called as teenagers. So it was the period of life between childhood and adulthood when a person would be experiencing different kind of changes. Yes, Aisha, assalamu alaikum, how are you? Yes, I'm also good. So whether it be the physical change, emotional, or the social changes, all kind of changes takes place when they are in the transitioning age group, and it typically starts between the age of 10 to 11 and lasts till the age of 18 to 19 years. So it will be including the puberty in this also. In the puberty particularly, we learned about how the body will be getting physically mature and will be developing the ability to reproduce. So there was a very thin difference between the two. Adolescence, we learned about this, that it's the broader development stage that not only talks about the physical development but also talks about the emotional and the cognitive and the social changes that develops when a person is transitioning from childhood to the adulthood, and it starts from the age of 10 and lasts till age of 19. But particularly in the case of puberty, we learn that it's a specific biological process that involves physical changes as well, but it particularly talks about the sexual maturity also, and which begins early around age of 9 to 14 for the girls, and for 10 to 15, or in some books we find that it is 10 to 12 for the case of boys, and will last for few years. So that was the difference between the two. Further, we also learned about the Adam's apple in the previous class. Basically, it's a term used for pharynx or the larynx. Used for the larynx, and which is also called as the voice box. It's also called as the voice box. Ibrahim is not here, neither is Ramiz here. Okay, anyways, by the way, it is recommended to everyone that since everyone's exams are over, like yours is about to start, and for Aisha and for others, it's important to not miss even a single class. Okay, na? Further, I told you further an important thing to understand is that how the voice box would be producing the sound, how the sound produces here. So in order to understand that, we need to take a look at this animation here. Look at this diagram here. Larynx, which is present in our throat. When we look at the structure of the larynx, so they are two tiny vibrating structure called as vocal cords. These are the vocal cords. And down goes the windpipe, the cartilaginous structure that we see here, the ring-like structure. That is the windpipe. So voice box, also known as the larynx, voice box also known basically the larynx, it will be producing the sound by causing the vocal cords to vibrate when air will be passing through it. Can you guys observe that how it is vibrating?
Yeah.
The vocal cords. And this is the vocal cord where I'm pointing. These are the vocal cords, and it vibrates. As I am speaking, my vocal cords are vibrating, and because of the vibration, it is producing sound. For example, when you're breathing in, when we breathe, vocal cords are open. Vocal cords open. Okay, na? And when you want to speak, the vocal cord would be folding and air will be coming out of it. Getting it now? That is one thing.
I
So
have
this
a
is,
question.
yes.
Like, you know how some people are really good at singing and some people are really bad at singing. So is it something with the vocal cords? Like some people are born singer and like some people are really bad at it.
Yeah. To some extent, singing is related to vocal cord. Okay, na? To some extent, it is very much related to this. For example, some people, you will see that some people have a very really bad voice. Bad voice in the sense that their voice will be breaking, and it might not be audible properly.
Mm.
Getting it now? So the size and the shape of the vocal cord determines the quality of the sound. Getting it? It determines the sound. Like the thicker the vocal cords are, deeper will be the sound. Okay, or the thinner the vocal cords are, then the sound will not be very deep. So the size, the shape, and how much the vocal cords can stretch, it will determine the quality of the sound that is produced. So yes, it is kind of genetic. Some people are born with a very good voice in such a manner that it has actually got to do with the shape, the size, and the elasticity of the vocal cord. So that actually affects the quality of the sound, right now. Like for example, as I said, thickness will impact the deepness. More, if it is more thicker, deepness in the sound will be more. Further, if you were to talk about the tightness of it, if the vocal cords are very tight, so it will produce a high pitched sound. Okay, na? It will produce a high pitched sound. Have you seen such functions in which people will be singing at a very high pitched sound?
Yeah.
Huh? Particularly, women are known to have a very high pitched sound. Getting it? So they will be training their muscles. They will be training their vocal cords. And with training, the shape and the size of the cord can be impacted. It can be improved with training. So, like for example, the singers would be training their vocal cords. Okay, no, they'll be training their vocal cords. That is the case. Okay. So, nonetheless, the important thing I wanted to say is that as due to the movement, due to the passing of air through the vocal cords, it will be vibrating, and that's how the sound is produced. Like if you will be breathing in air, the the vocal cords are open, and if you want to speak, the vocal cords will be closing for a while. When you're exhaling the air, now, like when you have to speak, the air will be exhaled out, and in that time it closes. So the opening and closing, it creates a vibration, and that's how it is produced. Okay, so that is an important change that occurs during the time of puberty. Another kind of changes is that the sweating increases. There is increased sweat and oil production on the skin that happens during the age of adolescence. Okay, now, so there could be several factors for this. Like even if a person is not in the age of adolescence, they will be sweating now. Like an old person, they also sweat. First of all, both of you turn your cameras on in the class. So you guys turn your cameras on in the class. Now to
Right
understand,
now?
yeah, like it is a better thing to turn your cameras on in the class to have a proper interaction. Getting it? It is used.
No, actually my camera's not working.
Okay, no issues then. Okay. So what I'm saying that particularly what happens at the age of adolescence, like you guys tell me, have you guys usually ever seen a child sweating that much as compared to a adult person? A child normally does not sweat no that much. A child 1 or 2 year old will not be sweating usually as compared to a person of 14, 15 or 20 years of age, isn't it? So it has actually got to do with the hormones in their body. When a person is in their puberty, so the secretion of hormone increases. Other reasons for the increase for the increase, like as the hormone will be increasing, there will be changes in the hormones, so this will lead to sweating. The sweat gland becomes more active. So thereby because of this, secretion of the sweat increases. Okay, that is one thing. Further, we see that the physical activity during the puberty is also very high now. Child should be usually they are usually more active as compared to the old people, isn't it? So the onset or the starting of the puberty, it leads to an increase in the hormones, particularly hormones like testosterone in boys and estrogen in girls. Testosterone in boys and estrogen in girls. Now these hormones will be stimulating the different kind of glands in our body, particularly the apocrine glands, which are responsible for producing sweat in response to stress, excitement, or physical activity. Like whenever particularly talking about a teenager, when they are in a stressful situation, or when they are very much excited or doing some intense physical workout, so thereby the glands will be getting stimulated, particularly the sweat gland and the oil gland in our skin. Take a look at this diagram here. Here you guys can look at some of the glands here. See this one here, the sebaceous gland. Okay, na? The sebaceous gland, it produces the oil by the name of the sebum. You guys might have heard of this term sebum before, which is basically the oil and which it is being produced by this gland over here. Getting it, all of you?
Yes.
So this gland gets stimulated. This gland, that is the oil gland, gets stimulated, and hence increased oil production takes place. Further, apart from this, there is sweat gland also. The sweat gland is also known by the name of sweat gland is also present in our body. Just 1 minute, guys. Yeah, sweat gland is also present, and sweat gland will produce the sweat. So all these changes are occurring because of the increased production of the testosterone in the male or progesterone in the female. That's why we will see that the secretions of sweat and the oil increases. That is one thing. Further, it could be due to the increased physical activity. Adolescents, they tend to be more active. They will be participating in various kind of sports. And because of this, as the physical activity increases, the temperature of the body increases now. And as the temperature of the body will be increasing, we know that we humans are warm-blooded animals. And what is special about the warm-blooded animals? That they can regulate their body temperature. Even if their surrounding temperature increases, they can regulate their body temperature. For example, if the surrounding temperature increases to 45 or 50 degrees Celsius, our body will be able to maintain the temperature to 37 degrees Celsius by sweating, because sweating cools down the body temperature. Right now?
Yes.
Or, for example, in the winters, what happens? The body temperature in the winter is also maintained. Okay. How? The flow of the blood in the blood vessels that are deep inside the body. So the rate of flow of blood in those deeper blood vessels increases. Getting it now? Like usually in the winters, our palm would be cold now. If you were to touch your palm in the winter season, it will be cold. Why is it cold? Because actually during the winters, your body, your heart is focusing more on supplying blood to the vital organs, to the important organs. But that does not mean that the blood is not being supplied to your fingers, to your palm. That does not mean, actually the rate of flow of blood increases towards the vital organs inside the body. Getting both of you what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
But in the summer season, if you were to touch your hand, your brother, your friend's hand, so we see that it is warm. If you were to touch someone's hand or your hand in the summer season, it is warm usually. Why? Because the flow of blood is more towards the skin in the summer season, and actually because of the high flow of blood in the skin, the body is actually trying to get rid of the extra heat. Okay, na? It is trying to get rid of the extra heat, and due to which the overall body temperature increases and the body will be sweating. So we are the warm-blooded animals. That is also one thing. But nonetheless, here we are seeing that due to the increased physical activity, the body will be generating more heat, and because of more heat, as a means of cooling down to regulate the body temperature, to maintain it to 37 degrees Celsius, our body will be cooling. Our body will be sweating. That is one thing. Further, growth spurts, meaning that there is rapid growth associated with the adolescents. Okay, na? And because of rapid growth in their body, the metabolic activity will be increasing, meaning that the rate of digestion, metabolic activity. Now, by the way, this metabolism that I have written here, metabolism basically refers to the biological processes that is taking place, biological reactions that is going on inside our body. Just like, for example, in a chemistry lab, reactions takes place between different chemical substances. So in our body also, suppose you are eating the food, so that food is being mixed with the acid present in your stomach. It is being mixed with various digestive enzymes. right, Aisha and Harim?
Yes.
So a reaction is taking place there also, and that kind of biological reaction that is happening inside our body. Examples of that are respiration, digestion of food, etc. So that these are the metabolic activities, and we call this as metabolism. So during the adolescence now, the metabolic activity will be high, and as the metabolism will be high, the body will be generating more heat, and as more heat will be generated, it will cause the body to sweat more. Why? To regulate the temperature of the body back to normal. Getting this, all, I hope both of you can relate to this. Hmm?
Hmm. I have a question.
Yes.
Some people's hands are like really cold, and some people's hands are really warm. Why is that?
Sometimes, repeat again.
No, some people's hands are really cold,
Hmm.
and some people's hands are really warm.
There could be various underlying reasons for that. Okay, no? Yes, it is true that we observe that sometimes people's hand is cold, sometimes it is warm, it is hot. So the reason could be, for example, the rate of flow of blood in the body. If it is poor, the blood is thick, and if it is not flowing at a proper rate, the hands and the feet will feel colder. That could be one of the reason. Another reason could be associated with the climate also. If it's the summer season, we will observe usually it will be warm. In the winter, it will be cold.
Mm.
So we observe that hands of some people will be cold, and for some people it will be warm, and it depends upon various reasons. They might be suffering from disease, some disease also. Uh, they can be having some certain health conditions. For example, if someone is suffering from anemia, you guys understand about anemia now? It's a deficiency.
Yeah,
It's a deficiency disease. So what happens if a person is suffering from anemia? Their hand and feet will be cold. They will be cold. Skin will turn pale yellow in color, right? So because of iron deficiency, what happens? As we know that in our blood, there are different kind of blood cells now. Can you guys name some of the cells present in our blood?
white blood cells, red blood
Hmm.
cells.
Well done. Apart from that, Aisha, apart from that, platelets are there, right? Platelets are also there.
Yes.
So what I was trying to say that the red blood cell, as you have mentioned, it contains hemoglobin. The red pigment, hemoglobin is found in the red blood cells. Okay. Say that this is a red blood cell, for example. It contains hemoglobin. In short, we write this as capital H and a small b. Now, to make the hemoglobin, our body requires iron. We require iron. Okay, now. So if our body is getting sufficient amount of hemoglobin, a sufficient amount of iron, so thereby hemoglobin will be produced in the proper amount. But if your diet lacks in iron, so thereby there will be less hemoglobin. Now, why hemoglobin is important? Because hemoglobin transports oxygen. Getting it now? Hemoglobin, it binds with the oxygen. The oxygen that we are breathing, when that oxygen goes into the blood, there it binds with hemoglobin and forms oxyhemoglobin. Okay, now the reason why I'm explaining all this, because all of this is actually related to your question. Okay, Harim.
Yeah.
Aisha, you getting it now?
Yes, sir.
So hemoglobin, it transports oxygen. Now, if there is less hemoglobin, if a person is suffering from anemia, if there is a deficiency of iron in the body, the person is suffering from anemia. And in the anemia, the different parts of the body will not be getting adequate amount of oxygen. Further, it will lead to problems like our skin will turn pale yellow. Why pale yellow? You might have seen certain people will be, their hand will be very the supply of the blood in their palm in the hand will be very good, and it will look red in color, right? We can observe that. But in some people, you will see that their hand, their nails will turn pale yellow in color. You might have observed this. Yeah, Aisha and Harim.
Yeah.
It's a common thing to observe. So skin will turn pale yellow and hand and the feet will turn cold. The person might also suffer from dizziness. That is one thing. Or the heartbeat also increases in this. So the hand and the feet is turning cold because the blood supply is not sufficient. Because blood, the red blood cell does not get adequate amount of iron to produce hemoglobin. Hence, it kind of um, leads to an abnormal situation in the blood. Thereby, our hand and feet turns cold. That is one thing. Other reasons could be the temperature of the environment also. It could be the stress level also. Usually, when a person is in a very stressful situation, when we are in a very stressful situation, the hand and the feet turns cold. Getting what I'm trying to say? So these could be the some of the reasons, but mainly it is related to the blood circulation. If the blood circulation is poor, if the blood circulation is poor, then the hand and the feet will be turning cold. If it is good, it will not be turning cold. Hope that clears it out. Yes.
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 Okay. Now getting back to the question here. Now here we are seeing that there are two kind of glands in this diagram here. As we see here, there is this sebaceous gland. There is this sebaceous gland. Okay, that will be producing the sebum, and there is another gland that you guys can see here. These are the sweat gland. These are the sweat gland in our skin. Now the sebaceous gland, their function is to produce the oil-like substance called as sebum. Oil-like substance called as sebum. So sometimes you will feel that the skin might feel very oily. It will be very oily, and it is because of the sebum. And sebum is basically the oil that is produced by the sebaceous gland. Hope that much clears the doubt so far.
Why do we need oil?
Oil actually no, oil will be moisturizing your skin, and it actually protects your skin from the harmful rays of sunlight, harmful ultraviolet rays. Okay, no? That is why it is important. Okay, got this. Now, many times you guys will observe that girls and boys would be getting acne and pimples on the face. If the secretion of the sweat and the secretion of the oil increases, so they will be getting acne, they will be getting pimples on the face. So the excessive secretion of oil and sebum will lead to pimples. Okay, got this so far?
Yes, sir.
One important question is to let me first of all sum it up whatever things we have learned so far. Then we'll be learning in detail about acne and pimples, like what is the main cause behind them, what is the role of bacteria in that. Okay, so there are sweat and oil glands under the skin. Under the skin. Also, one important thing to be noted down is that sweat and oil gland is not present in every part of the body. It is not present in every part of the body. For examples, like in the lips, it is not present. It is not present there. Or for example, in the external ear, in the ear, it is not present. So there are some parts of the body where the sweat glands are not present. Okay, or take the example of the palm or the soles of the feet. Their oil gland is not present. Getting it? What I'm trying to say? Oil gland will be absent there, while sweat gland will be absent in the lips or in the external part of the ear. They will be absent. Okay. Exception here is that sweat gland is absent in lips and in outer part of the ear. Another thing is that, as I said, the oil gland is absent in palm and soles of the feet. soles of the feet. That is important thing. By the way, you guys tell me, what is the another name for oil gland? The another name for oil gland is sebaceous gland, no? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, no? So important point to be kept in mind is that the sebaceous gland is commonly called as oil gland. Talking about the secretion of this gland, so this secretes the oil, and that we call as sebum. So the question comes that, what is this sebum? Like, why the sebum or the oil is important? Actually, the sebum will be protecting your skin from drying out. Sometimes in the winters, what happens? Our skin dries out now, and because of the drying of the skin, we have to apply the moisture, because in the winter the secretion of the sebum is less. That's why we have to apply moisture in order to protect our skin from drying up. And if there is excessive drying of the skin now, the skin might rupture and it can lead to bleeding. Now hope it should be clear that why there is an importance of sebum or the oil. Is it clear?
Yeah.
So sebum, it protects the skin from drying out. By the way, you guys tell me, have you guys been preparing notes of the chapters? And as for the previous chapters, I have sent the PPT to the team. You guys might have got it. Aisha, have you got it?
Yes, sir.
And you have got it. Harim, what about you?
No.
Not yet. Okay, I will tell them to share it with you as well. Okay, no?
Okay.
So that is one thing. Also, we learned about how it will be important. Okay, no? So sebum is important as it prevents the skin from drying out. Apart from that, it has some other functions also. There's other functions, like for example, we know that if our skin will be dry now, it will lead to bleeding, and if it is having some moisture in it, it will not to lead to skin will not rupture and it will not lead to bleeding. That is one thing. Apart from that, it also prevents our skin from the harmful sun rays, harmful ultraviolet rays. So it protects the skin from harmful UV rays to some extent. Okay, that is one thing. By the way, you guys tell me that the sunscreen that we use, is it actually good for the body? The sunscreen that we apply on the skin, is it harming or is it good for the skin?
It's good for.
Hmm? But you guys think about this. Sunscreens have been recently made. It is not like it was always being used by the people. Generally we see that it is safe to use. Okay, it is safe to use. Okay, like it is said that basically if you are going to be in the sun, so sunscreen should be applied in the skin before going out in the sun. At least 15 to 20 minutes you should be applying the sunscreen before going out in the sun. But we know that earlier the people did not used to apply this. So what problems they might have suffered, and what problems we have been able to avoid because of the sunscreen?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I think it's probably developed and like people did not use sunscreen or did not need it because before the ozone layer was like really thick. So the harmful sun rays were like stopped there. But now it's like really decreasing. So there are more harmful sun rays to protect our skin from like skin cancers and all the disease. I think many sunscreens are like developed.
Exactly. That is one of the important reason to understand this. As we know that above the Antarctica, the ozone layer has there's a hole in the ozone layer, because of which harmful ultraviolet rays has been able to penetrate into the atmosphere of the Earth, and thereby ultraviolet rays leads to cancer, skin cancer particularly. So with the help of it can actually, using the sunscreen can reduce the chances of skin cancer. It can prevent the sunburn. Okay, no? or it can prevent the skin wrinkles also. Wrinkles also develops now. Like you can see the spots on the skin is developing, wrinkles developing on the skin. That can also be prevented. That is one thing. Okay. Further, we learned about the sweat gland. Now, when we look at the sweat gland here, look at this structure here, this one here. These are the sweat gland. And you guys can see there's a tube-like structure that is continuing from here all the way to the top of the skin. And our skin has tiny pores. Although we don't see it, it is not visible to the bare eyes, but they are very tiny pores present in our skin. And that pore is actually connected to this tube-like structure that goes all the way to the sweat gland. Hope you guys can see this here. Okay. So this sweat gland, later on we'll learn that it's a type of gland from which the secretion is coming onto the surface of the body now. Is the secretion going into the blood or is it going inside the body? No. It's coming onto the surface of the body now, isn't it? So later on we will learn it's a type of exocrine gland, a thing which you will be learning later on. That is one thing. Now, an important question I have for you guys. Do tell me that if the pores on the skin are blocked, what problems we can suffer from? If the pores on the skin are blocked, like some people, if they will be applying too much of cosmetics on their skin, if too much of cosmetics are applied, so thereby the tiny pores on their skin will be getting blocked now, right? And because of which the sweating will not take place properly, and because of this people will suffer from acne also. If your skin pores are blocked, either due to over application of the cosmetics or due to some other reasons, the most common problem that one will be suffering from acne, of which you can see as the blackhead or the whiteheads or the pimples. Getting what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Now, sometime also what happens that if there's a hormonal change, the hormones are disturbed, the hormonal changes will lead to over secretion of the sebum. It will lead to over secretion of the sebum, and sebum it will accumulate on top of the skin. And let's say if there are dead skin cells also, if dead skin cells are also there, oil is also there, so it will make a very nutritious medium for the bacteria to feed on. The bacteria will start to feed on, and further it will lead to, like, basically bacteria will get trapped in it. The bacteria will be getting trapped in it. Let's say for example, this is oil being secreted by the CBSE gland or the oil gland, and they are dead skin cells also, dead skin cells also. And in this there are some bacteria that are trapped. There are some bacteria that are trapped. So that can also further lead to the acne. That will also lead to the acne. Getting it now? So that is one thing. So far, the things which we have learned, let me sum it up. We learned that there are sweat and the oil glands present in our body, which start secreting more oil and sweat during the puberty age. Many times, girls and boys would be getting acne and pimples because of excessive secretion of these glands. Getting it? That is one thing. And the underlying reasons for this was the onset of puberty, which leads to increase in secretion of hormones, namely testosterone and estrogen. Estrogen in girls, testosterone in boys, and these hormones will be stimulating the oil and the sweat gland to produce more sweat and oil in response to stress, excitement, or physical activity. So that is one thing. Hope it should be clear. Any questions from that?
No.
Okay. Now, you guys might have seen that generally height of all the family members would be similar. Huh? Generally, the height of the father, generally the height of all the siblings will be similar as compared to their parents. There might be there might be exceptions, and there are exceptions, but usually we see that height of a person in a family, all of them are usually similar. Actually, the thing is that the height of a person, it's a characteristics that they receive from their parents now. Their parents received it from their parents. So it's a characteristics that we receive from that the person receives from their parents. In general, because of this, since all the siblings have borrowed this characteristic from the same parent, so height of the persons will be similar in a family. Okay, that is one thing. So talking about the height, it's one of the most observable change in the puberty. It's one of the most observable change. So why the height would be increasing suddenly in the at the age of puberty? Why the height will be increasing suddenly? Because the bones of the legs and the bones in the arms of a person, they start to become taller. They start to grow longer, and because of this, the height of the person will be increasing in the age of puberty. Can you guys name what are the bones of the legs and what are the bones of the arms? By what name do we know it?
Femur.
Okay, femur is there in the leg, good, and
Patella.
fibula. You're saying fibula is there, yes. So we have femur, fibula, and one more, that is tibia. That is the tibia in the lower leg. Just let me take this diagram and then we are going to continue here. See. So as you guys can see here, these are the bones of the leg. Namely, the upper one is the that is not visible completely. That one is the femur. The lower two bones are the fibia and the tibia. Similarly, bones in the hands. What bones are there in the hand? What do we know them?
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Humerus.
Humerus actually. You're
Yeah,
trying to.
humerus.
Oh, yeah, humerus and
I don't know.
Aisha, radius and ulna. Okay, now
And some, yeah.
humerus, radius, and then we have ulna, as you guys can see here. So the upper one here is the femur. And what is an important fact about femur?
The longest bone in the body.
Exactly, that's the longest bone in the body. And here we have two bones. One of it is the tibia, and another one is fibula. Now, in the case of the arm, the upper bone is called as humerus. There is just one bone in the upper arm. We know it by the name of humerus. And in the lower arm, there are two bones. One is the radius, another one is the ulna. Okay, now? Okay, nonetheless, our important point to be discussed here is that at the age of puberty, the bones of legs in the arms and in the legs, the bones of the legs and in the arms will start to grow longer. And because of the increase in the length of these bones, the height of the person would be namely increasing. That is one important thing. And this increase in the height will occur until the age of 18 in both the boys and in the girls. And usually we observe that the girls would be growing faster than the boys. Initially, the girls would be growing faster than the boys. That is one thing. So another important change we have observed is increase in height. Increase in height. Cause of this is that increase in length of bones of the limbs, respectively the legs and the arms. Further, it continues to grow till the age of 18. Continues to grow till 18 in boys and girls both. Another important fact we have learned that initially the girls would be growing faster than the boys. So initially, girls grow faster than boys. Hope these basic things should be clear to everyone. Okay. Any questions from this?
No.
No, sir.
Okay. Now, an important question is that what kind of habits will promote the growth of height? Like, one thing is obvious that in a natural manner the height is going to grow. The bones are going to grow. But what are the habits that can promote the healthy growth of bones? So it could be following. For example, if you are having a balanced diet and a diet that is rich in all the necessary nutrients for the development of the bones, what kind of minerals do we require for the healthy bones?
Protein,
Okay, protein
calcium.
is
Yeah,
calcium.
calcium.
Protein is not a mineral, so mineral that is calcium. So we require calcium rich diet. We require protein also, very good, because protein is a it's one of the component of the food. It's a nutrient that is called as, what do we know about the protein? Yes, it's promote.
It's like
Mhm.
promotes muscle mass.
Exactly, promotes the growth of the muscles and the bones. In fact, every part of the body we get to see that in every part of the body protein will be present, because the protein is the bodybuilding food. Protein is called as the bodybuilding food. Just like carbohydrate and fat, they are energy giving food. Vitamins and minerals, they are the protective food. They're called as protective component of the food. So same similar to that, they are the building component. Furthermore, furthermore, one needs to get adequate amount of sleep also, and one needs to do regular exercise also, particularly regular exercises like stretching and hanging or having a good posture. All of these can promote the growth of the height, but mostly we see that the growth of the height is mostly decided by the genetic of the person, the characteristics that they have inherited from the parent. Hope that much should be clear to everyone. Okay, so we have seen some of the changes. Apart from that, so far we have learned about the change in the voice and the change in the and the increase in sweating and oil production in the skin. We also learned about the how the height will be growing suddenly. Because tell me, in out of the boys and the girls, whose height will be growing faster initially?
Girls.
Yes, Aisha, same answer.
Yes, sir.
That is one thing. Apart from that, we get to see that there will be change in the shape of the body also. To change in shape of body. So in the age of puberty, the as the boys and girls would be entering into the time period of the puberty, the shape of the body will start to change. Generally, what happens in the case of the boys, the um, chest will be becoming wider, shoulders will become wider. That is one thing. In the girls, the area below the waist will become wider. That is one thing. Apart from that, like the reason why the shape of the boy and the shape of the body of the boy and the girl will be different, because it has got to do with the way how the muscles will be growing in different parts of the body, right now. Like generally the growth of muscle mass in the boys is higher as compared to the girls, but the distribution of the muscle mass in the girls will be in both of them are also different. Although we see that there is more muscle mass in the body of the boy, but the distribution of the muscle mass in the girls and boys are uneven. It is distributed in a different manner. Okay, now that is one thing. Further, we see that with the age also, as the men would be aging or as the female would be aging, their body will go under a number of changes. Like we see that when they will be reaching the age of 40, 45, 50. So what happens that they would start to lose the weight. They will start to lose the weight. Also, we see that excess amount of fat will be accumulating around the stomach. You might have seen that usually most, like I see in the Indian families, most of the most of the father in the Indian families, they will be having a round and a big tummy. Yes, am I wrong or correct?
Correct, sir.
Right now. Hmm. So muscle mass will decrease after some time. Initially, what we are seeing that when they are in the age of adolescence, the muscle mass is increasing at that time. But later on, as they would be growing old, the muscle mass would be decreasing, and the fat that they have stored in their body, it starts to accumulate around the tummy, around the stomach. That is the way how the shape of the body will be changing. Okay. Further, the distribution of the fat is also in a different manner. The distribution of fat also occurs in different way. Let me write down few important points in this. Okay, no? So as the boy and girls enters in the puberty, their body shapes starts to change. Starts to change. Generally, in the case of boys, what we have learned that shoulder and chest, it starts to widen. It starts to widen. Also, while we talk about the widening of the shoulder now, while we talk about the widening of the shoulder, it also has got to do with the structure of the bones also. Right now, what we have observed, what we see now, usually the shoulder blades of male are broader as compared to female. You guys understand about the shoulder blade or not? What I'm trying to say? The shoulder blade, the scapula.
Yes, sir.
Harim, you getting it? What I'm trying to say? The shoulder blade.
Yeah.
The shoulder blade, when we compare the male and the female body, the shoulder blade is more wider. So males have a broader shoulder blade as compared to the female. So it is obvious that their shoulder is going to be broader as compared to the female. So that is also one such reason. So important thing to be noted down is that the muscle mass in boys are higher, and particularly talking about the shoulder, so it widens more in male as the shoulder blade that is scapula is more broader in them as compared to the girls. That is one thing. And further, as we look in the case of the girls, so in the case of the girls, what we see that the changes occurs in them also, but the muscle growth and the pattern of distribution of muscles and fat is different in them. So in the case of the girls, they will be widening in the hips like this. So hope this much should be clear. Another important change that takes place in the time of puberty, that as they will be hitting the puberty, the reproductive organs have developed completely. Whether it be the male reproductive organ, that is the testis, the main part of the male reproductive organ of testis of a male, or whether it be the ovary in the female reproductive organ. So these reproductive parts, these reproductive organs would have developed completely. In the male, the sperm production will begin by the testis, and in the female, the uh, the um, the ovum production will begin by the ovary. So the size of the ovary will increase, and it will start to release the production of mature ovum. Okay, an important thing to be noted down is now, like in the case of the male parent, the production of the sperm takes place. The sperms are produced in the testes once they have reached the age of puberty. Meaning that when they haven't reached the age of puberty, so sperms are not present in the testes because production has not taken place, so thereby it is not present. But in the case of the females, since the time of the birth of the female baby, the ovum is present in the ovary. But it is only when they have reached the age of puberty, the sperms will start to become, I mean to say, sorry, the ovum. The ovum will start to become mature. It will be mature, and then only after having become mature, the secretion, the release of the ovum will take place. Are you guys able to distinguish what I have said here?
Yeah.
What did I say? Can you explain this?
You said that in like men, after a certain age, the sperm is produced, but a woman child, like the ovum is produced since the birth, like they already have
But they are not mature.
matured.
Okay, they are not mature. So they will be matured only by the age of the puberty. So another significant change that takes place is the development of the sex organ. Development of the reproductive organ. Okay. Now, when we talk about the male reproductive organ, so there are different parts of the male reproductive organ. When we talk about the male reproductive organ, there are different parts of it. But the main part of it is the testes. Okay, no? Like Aisha, as we were there while we were learning about reproduction in animals, we had learned about the different parts of the male reproductive organ, like penis, scrotum, testes, vas deferens, prostate gland, the seminal vesicles. Remember?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And similarly, we did learn about the female reproductive organ also, like different parts where vagina, uterus, fallopian tube, and the ovaries. So out of these two different parts, no? Okay, Harim, like the class is about to end actually. Okay, no? The time is actually over. Okay. So we'll be actually continuing from today tomorrow. Okay. So what I'm trying to say here, when we were talking about the development of the reproductive organs, so it will not mean only by the development of the testes. It will mean the development of the size of the penis, the seminal vesicle, the prostate gland, the seminal vesicle, all the things will be growing. Getting it? In the case of the female also, not only the size of the ovary will increase, but the size of the uterus, the vagina, the fallopian tube, all of it will be increasing. With the help of